Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss the previous year NEET questions on excretory products and the elimination. This is the part 3 video. So moving on to the questions. Consider the following 4 statements regarding kidney transplant and select the 2 correct one of those. So even if a kidney transplant is proper, the recipient may need to take immunosuppressants for a long time. The cell-mediated immune response is responsible for graft rejection. The B lymphocytes are responsible for rejection of graft. The acceptance or rejection of a kidney transplant depends on specific interferons. So, even if a kidney transplant is proper, like when the cross matching is all done, it is true that the patient has to take immunosuppressants because it takes some while for the body to get accustomed to the new tissue. So we need to give immunosuppressants as a safety measure. The cell-mediated immune response is responsible for graft rejection. This is completely true. Cell-mediated rejection is only responsible for graft rejection. So we have to search for the options which state 1 and 2. The options are 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 1 and 3. So the option is D, 1 and 2. So the correct answer is D, 1 and 2. What will happen if stretch receptors of the urinary bladder wall are totally removed? Options given are micturition will continue, urine will continue to collect normally in the bladder, there will be no micturition, urine will not collect in the bladder. So the urinary bladder, there is a unique, this is the trigone of urinary bladder, there is transitional epithelium here, and the stretch receptors are also present in the bladder. The stretch receptors are, when they are removed, the micturition will not be stopped. So when the fluid keeps collecting, when there are no stretch receptors, there will be complete emptying of the bladder. So there will be the sympathetic activity, but the micturition reflex will be lost. Micturition will continue. So sensory stretch receptors are responsible for stretch reflex. If these are removed, the autonomic nervous system control will not be there and micturition will continue. Micturition is the expulsion of urine from the urinary bladder. So the answer is micturition will continue. Bowman's gland are found in, options given are external auditory canal, cortical nephrons only, juxtamedullary nephrons, olfactory epithelium. So we have Bowman's glands. This is a very important fact. We have been given in excretion chapter because we generally confuse Bowman's gland with Bowman's capsule. So this is not related anywhere near the kidney. It is present in the olfactory epithelium for the production of mucus. So the option is D. Are found in olfactory epithelium which secrete mucus to keep the olfactory epithelium moist and free from germs. So the next question. A person is undergoing prolonged fasting. His urine will be found to contain abnormal quantities of fats, amino acids, glucose and ketones. So a fact to be known that when a person undergoes fasting, his glucose, amino acids, fats will start deteriorating, and when the proteins are getting destroyed, there is a formation of ketone bodies in the body. So this is excreted through the urine in form of acetoacetate, dihydroxybutyrate and all stuff. So ketone bodies are formed. This is also a characteristic feature of diabetes mellitus. So under fasting conditions and in uncontrolled diabetes, as we told before, the liver produces large amount of ketone bodies like acetoacetate, dihydroxybutyrate. The presence of excess ketone bodies in blood or urine is termed as ketonemic and ketonuria respectively. Ketone bodies in blood is called ketonemia, and in urine it is called ketonuria. So the next question. The net pressure gradient that causes fluid to filter out of glomeruli into the capillary is, options given are 50 mm Hg, 75 mm Hg, 20 mm Hg and 30 mm Hg. So we have a complex calculation here. So since writing is difficult, I have made it before. So here we have the glomerular capillary pressure, which is 45 mm Hg, that favors filtration, enables the fluid moving out. Colloidal osmotic pressure acts against the filtration, it pushes in. Its value is 20 mm Hg. So this is 45 mm Hg outside, this is 20 mm Hg inside. The filtrate pressure due to the glomerular filtrate is filled also acts against the filtration. So the filtrate pressure, which is 10 mm Hg, this also acts along this direction. So we have to subtract this. So we'll have an answer of 15 mm Hg. So which is approximately between 10 and 20. We don't have a 10 here. So the nearest is 20 mm Hg. So the answer is 20 mm Hg. So the net filtration pressure is 15 mm Hg, which is in the range of 10 to 20 mm Hg. In ornithine cycle, which of the following wastes are removed from the blood? Options given are CO2 and urea, ammonia and urea, CO2 and ammonia, urea and urine. We have discussed in the previous videos, CO2 and ammonia combine to form the urea and water. So CO2 and ammonia are excreted. Solution is urea, NH2CO NH2 is the chemical formula, is formed from 2 molecules of ammonia and 1 molecule of carbon dioxide. A molecule of ammonia combines with carbon dioxide to form carbonyl phosphate. It reacts with ornithine to form citrulline. Citrulline accepts another molecule of NH4, giving rise to arginine. Arginine is hydrolyzed into urea and ornithine with the help of enzyme arginase. This is the ornithine cycle, and CO2 and ammonia are excreted. So moving on to the next question. If Henle's loop were absent from mammalian nephron, which of the following is to be expected? The urine will be more dilute. There will be no urine formation. There will be hardly any changes in quality and quantity of urine form. The urine will be more concentrated. We know the Henle's loop plays an important role in hypertonicity. It makes the urine hypertonic. So if we have removed the Henle's loop, it will be more dilute. There will be no hypertonic fluid. So the answer is urine will be more dilute. Henle's loop is associated with concentration of urine and production of hypertonic urine. That's concentration of urine and hypertonic urine. Formation of concentrated hyperosmotic urine in vertebrates generally depends on options given are length of proximal convoluted tubule, length of Henle's loop, area of Bowman's capsule epithelium, capillary end forming glomerulus. So the hyperosmotic, or when it is we have to acidulate the urine, it generally depends on the length of the Henle's loop, which will determine the acidity of the urine form. So the answer is Henle's loop is involved in osmoregulation and concentrating urine, thus producing a hypertonic urine. So length of urine is the answer. In renal tubules, the permeability of distal convoluted tubule and collected is controlled by the options given are vasopressin, aldosterone, growth hormone, and renin. So let's start with the aldosterone. Aldosterone is an important RAAS mechanism. It's an important renin-angiotensin aldosterone mechanism, and it does not involve in permeability of distal and distal convoluted tubules and collecting duct. Growth hormones is generally involved in growth of the body and not in excretion function. Renin generally is formed in kidney, and it is an important RAS mechanism. It is also increasing the RBC production. So the answer is vasopressin. It acts in the permeability of DCT and collecting duct. So the answer is vasopressin. Growth hormone released by anterior lobe of pituitary, which brings about the body growth by synthesis and deposition of proteins in tissue. Renin secreted by special cells in the kidney regulate blood pressure. Aldosterone reduces Na plus elimination by helping active absorption from the nephric filtrate. The basic functional unit of human kidney is option A nephron, nephridia, pyramid, Henle's loop. So nephron is the basic unit of basic functional unit in human kidney. Nephridia is the excretory structure in annelids. Henle's loop is a part of the nephron. Pyramid is part of the kidney. So the answer is nephron. Part that does not belong to the uriniferous tubule is glomerulus. Options given are glomerulus, Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule, and connecting tubule. So Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule, and connecting tubule are part of uriniferous tubule. This is a fact. Glomerulus is not a part of uriniferous tubule. So the answer is glomerulus is not a part of uriniferous tubule. So the solution: glomerulus is a group of about 50 capillaries. These are afferent capillaries, and we have the Bowman's capsule here. which have numerous pores and are separated by lumen of Bowman's capsule through a basement layer. The next question. So the answer is glomerulus. Moving on to the next question. If kidney failed to reabsorb water, the effect on the tissue would be, it would remain unaffected, shrink and shrivel, absorb water from blood plasma, take more O2 from the blood. So we generally tend to think that if kidney does not absorb water, it takes water from the blood plasma. No, that does not happen. If a kidney does not reabsorb water, the whole of the body starts to get dehydrated, and so what will happen? There will be shrinking and shrivelage of the kidney tissue. So the option is shrink and shrivel. If kidney fail to reabsorb water, the urine will be diluted, causing polyuria, frequent urination. Then the body tissue will get dehydrated and cell will lose water content and shrink. Glucose is taken back from glomerular filtrate through active transport, passive transport, osmosis, diffusion. So glucose is taken back from glomerular filtrate through active transport. So this is a fact, active transport. Under normal conditions, which one is completely reabsorbed in the renal tubule? Option A, urea, uric acid, salts, glucose. Glucose is completely reabsorbed in the normal conditions. In case of diabetes, the glucose is excreted in. So the answer is glucose. The proximal convoluted tubule, which is PCT, 70 to 80% of the electrolytes and all of the necessary nutrients are absorbed here. Reabsorb entire glucose, amino acids, most of the inorganic ions, most of the water, as well as some urea. Glucose is reabsorbed actively and most effectively. So the answer is glucose. Brush border is the characteristic of option A, neck of nephron, collecting tube, proximal convoluted tube, all of the tube. Brush border is specific to proximal convoluted tube because it has to reabsorb most of the materials involved it and increases the surface area. So it is proximal convoluted tube. Proximal and distal convoluted tubes are parts of seminiferous tubule, nephron, oviduct, vas deferens. These are all parts of nephron. Nephron is the basic unit and PCT and DCT are part of nephron. This is the excretory unit of human excretory system. Nephron is the excretory unit of human excretory system. Each nephron has Bowman's capsule, a proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle. It has both descending and ascending limbs, distal convoluted tubule, which then enter into the collecting duct. So these are all the parts of the nephron. So it's a part of nephron. Reabsorption of useful substances from glomerular filtrate occurs in collecting tubule, loop of Henle, proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule. As we have seen from the previous videos and our previous questions, we know that proximal convoluted tubule absorbs about 70 to 80% of all of the needed nutrition. So the answer is proximal convoluted tubule. From Bowman's capsule, glomerular filtrate enters the proximal convoluted tubule. Most of the useful substances like glucose, amino acid, inorganic acid, and most of the important buffer bicarbonates are reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule, and cells are specially adaptive for absorption, having numerous microvilli and mitochondria. The brush border epithelium is also characteristic of proximal convoluted tubule. So the answer is proximal convoluted tubule. Thank you for watching the video.